Assalamu alaikum and peace be with you. On behalf of Idara Jafriya, I welcome you to Idara Jafriya's annual Ramadan Interfaith event. We will begin the program with the recitation of the Holy Quran by Brother Shabir Jafri. Brother Shabir Jafri is a Jafriya Islamic School Level 9 student.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألف لام ميم. ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون والذين يؤمنون بما أنزل إليك وما أنزل من قبلك وبالآخرة هم يوقنون أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الذين آمنوا والذين هادوا والنصارى والصابئين من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر وعمل صالحا فلهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. آمن الرسول إليه من ربه والمؤمنون كل آمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله وقالوا سمعنا وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Thank you, Brother Shabir, for that beautiful recitation. We will now hear the translation from Sister Nurul Huda Ingram. Nurul Huda is in her final year at UMBC studying psychology, and she hopes to be an educator in the future. Let's please welcome her to the podium with a loud salawat.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I seek refuge in Allah from the accursed Satan. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Alif Lam Mim. This is the book. There is no doubt in it, a guidance to the God-wary, who believe in the unseen and maintain the prayer and spend out of what we have provided for them, and who believe in what has been sent down to you and what was sent down before you, and are certain of the hereafter. Those follow their Lord's guidance, and it is they who are the felicitous. Indeed, the faithful, the Jews, the Christians, and the Sabians, those of them who have faith in God and the last day and act righteously, they shall have the reward near. Their Lord they will have no fear, nor will they grieve. The apostle has faith in what has been sent down to him from his Lord, and all the faithful. Each of them has faith in God, his angels, his scriptures, and his apostles. They declare we make no distinction between any of his apostles, and they say, we hear and obey. Our Lord, forgive us, and toward you is the return. God does not task any soul beyond its capacity. Whatever good it earns is to its benefit, and whatever evil it incurs is to its harm. Our Lord, take us not to task if we forget or make mistakes. Our Lord, place us not upon us a burden as you placed on those who were before us. Our Lord, lay not upon us what we have not strength to bear. Excuse us and forgive us, and be merciful us. You are our Master, so help us against the faithless lot. Holy true are the words of Allah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Tonight's MC is Brother Sajid Hassan, a public servant, language lover, and proud member of the Idara Jafriya community. Sajid serves as a Middle East desk officer at the U.S. Department of Commerce, where he works to build bridges between global markets and the U.S. economy. He's deeply passionate about interfaith dialogue and honoring both his Hyderabadi Muslim roots and calling to serve the public good. Sajid recently got married and is especially grateful to be spending this sacred month of Ramadan in the spirit of togetherness and service. Please welcome Brother Sajid.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum and greetings of peace to you all. I would like to welcome respected Maulana Rafiq Naqvi, Sheikh Abdul Jalil, Imam Muhammad Zahid, Sister Asati Ahmad, Pastor Denise Diab, and Rabbi Dr. Zeitz to be seated at the panel tables in front. As we begin, it is only fitting that we pause to honor the visionary who first dreamed up the idea of this interfaith iftar, Maulana Sayyid Rafiq Naqvi. It was through his leadership and foresight that Idara Jafriya opened its doors in this way, building a tradition rooted in dialogue, dignity, and shared humanity. We are deeply grateful to him for planting the seeds of this gathering so many years ago. Please join me in offering a heartfelt salawat and a round of applause for Maulana Sayyid Rafiq Naqvi. We are also deeply thankful to our current resident scholar, Sheikh Abdul Jalil Nawi, who has so beautifully carried forward this tradition with care and commitment. His presence continues to guide this community with wisdom, humility, and a deep sense of service. We thank him for being a torchbearer of this sacred work. Salawat. Before we continue, I'd like to share a small note about something you'll hear often this evening, the word salawat. In Shia Muslim gatherings, this is a beautiful and frequent refrain invoking peace and blessings upon the Prophet Muhammad and his family. May God's peace be upon them all. It's a moment of spiritual pause and reverence, often recited together by the congregation. You can think of it like a spiritual high five we give to one another, signaling a moment of reflection and reverence. You'll hear the salawat sprinkled throughout the evening, and it's a way for us to collectively center our hearts, express love, and mark transitions in the program with grace. Feel free to join in with a quiet moment of reflection, however that looks in your own tradition. Now with that, can we have a loud salawat? Dear esteemed scholars, distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, welcome to Idara Jafriya's annual Interfaith Iftar Dinner. My name is Sajid Hassan, and it is an honor to host you at Idara Jafriya tonight. Today's program will consist of speeches by our esteemed scholars and distinguished guests. For our brothers and sisters in faith who will need to break their fast before we call out the adhan, we have iftar starters ready for you at the back of the hall. Speeches will be followed by prayers and then the iftar dinner. Guests are very welcome to join us for prayers, as participants or as audience. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask someone with a green volunteer lanyard. Please refer to your handouts or to the screens for translations of any unfamiliar words and to follow along with the program. I would like to now begin the program with our first guest speaker, Sister Asati Ahmad. Sister Asati Ahmad is a passionate community builder and advocate for educational equity, currently serving as a leader with the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP Parents Council. She launched the National Museum of African American History and Culture field trip program, which grew from a small homeschool initiative to engaging over 2,000 Montgomery County Public School students. A former AmeriCorps Volunteer and Service to America leader and U.S. Environmental Protection Agency program analyst, Asati has spent her career designing programs that expand opportunity from access to clean water to entrepreneurship and wellness. She is also the founder of the Nadi Wellness Center, where she introduced Montgomery County's first Ramadan yoga. Her work has earned her the Presidential Volunteer Service Award and nominations for the Obama Foundation's Leaders USA program. Please join me in welcoming Sister Asati to the podium with a salawat.
Assalamu alaikum, and greetings to all of our guests here at the Idara Jafariya. Thank you very much for that introduction. I'm not at all used to talking about myself or having to write about myself. I'm very much a behind-the-scenes person. From those of you that know me, I ask for your forgiveness. My voice has not been cooperating for the past 2 weeks, so if you can bear with me. I just want to thank all of our guests, those who are Muslim, those who are Christian, those who subscribe to the Jewish faith, those who are still trying to find their way, and they're just curious and trying to figure out, what is all this community talk? What is all this stuff about religion and faith? So I just want to kind of put something in perspective that is very central to all of us as human beings, regardless of how we decide to live our lives. Some of the things that make us all common is our humanity. We all need to eat. This is maybe, hopefully, inshallah, the last day of Ramadan for a lot of us. So we all know what it feels like to be hungry. We all need a place to sleep, and we all need love and companionship. Something else that we all need that we often overlook is grace and compassion. That is the heart of what exists, of how I even came into existence. My very existence is a testament to interfaith work and inter-community work. My father, while he came from a Muslim family, his family came from the Ahmadiyya Madhab. He grew up and studied in Saudi Arabia, came back to America to bring the knowledge to the community here in the DC area. This was long before I was born. My mother was actually modeling at Howard University, and she came from a Southern Baptist family, very, very conservative. And so when she was at Howard University and there were these Muslim brothers on campus doing da'wah, and those who are wondering what's da'wah, it's basically when you go into the community and you just talk about the way you live and you try to invite people to come learn about how you're living. And there's something that we say in Islam, there's no compulsion in religion. And what that means is you can't force anyone to believe in what you believe. You cannot force anyone to do what you do, to think how you think, or even feel how you feel. And as much as we all would like to think conversation and dialogue can bring conflict resolution, you can't even have people even be able to see a perspective sometimes because they can't feel what you feel. They're not in your body. They didn't walk your path, and they don't know your life experience. And life is one of the greatest teachers of all. And as I stand before you, my mother in the front row, now I'm nervous. Life has taught me a lot of things, and it's taught me love and compassion and community. My mother asked a brother on campus some questions about Islam, and over some time it took her across the street to the masjid where my father was the imam. And my mother and another sister at the time took their shahada, and my mom stayed within the community. She became best friends with a brother who many from our community know as Brother Hussein Abdul Jabbar. He was my Islamic studies teacher throughout my whole entire life, and his impact on me is something that I cannot put into words. So before I was born, there was this interfaith work happening between just people just trying to relate to one another and make sense of their lives and figure out how can they live their life to the very best of their abilities, not to someone else's expectations, not to someone else's wishes and desires or even comforts. How can they live a life that is most authentic to the way that God created them? And they knew it was going to take them some time to get to know God. All relationships worth having take time. So as my mother and my father had their children, there's 10 of us from my mother and father alone. I'm the middle child. Surprise, surprise. It's often us middle children, the ones that are deemed the other, right? That people kind of look at. You're not really sure how we're going to act or what we're going to do, what we're going to say. And there's a reason for that. A lot of times, the children who were in the middle were often the bridge children. And I'm going to talk about this concept throughout my speech here. The bridge people are the key people to our communities. They are the people who, when someone is feeling alone or misunderstood, those are the people that are approached and that folks confide in. The bridge people are the ones who can answer the questions for new Muslims or new Christians or new Jews, right? Or people who are just curious. What is this thing about God? The bridge people are the people who make you comfortable enough to ask those questions to. The bridge people are the people who are here today. Each one of you are bridge people. You came here for a reason. Whether you have a relative that is not of Islam, or whether you have a coworker, or maybe some of the young people have an interest, someone they're interested in for marriage. And they're trying to figure out, how do we bridge these differences in the ways that we live in our faith? Well, you do that through service, honestly. That's how I figured out this was the way to do it. I watched my parents, I watched my father in the community, and most importantly, I watched my mother. She's been a nurse for longer than I've been alive, and to be a nurse is an act of love and service in and of itself. I just want to commend all of our nurses and our doctors and our healthcare professionals, because every day that you go to work, you're putting your life at risk. So every day that my mother was out in the community taking care of children at Muslim Community School or at Masjid al-Rahma, all of these Muslim communities, I watched her and I watched how all the children just poured love on her. And they still do till this day. They don't ask about me. They see me and they say, oh my gosh, how's Sister Naima doing? My mother's good, alhamdulillah. Call her. But you know, those are the people, the bridge people are the ones that keep our community connected. And those people are the ones that are often overlooked. Why? It's because they're busy. They're busy doing the work. You're not going to see them in the masjid all the time. You are not going to see them dua kumel Thursday nights, Friday Jummah, because they're out there doing the work. When I first started in AmeriCorps, I had no idea what it was. I was like, I don't want to go to the army. I don't want to fight anybody. That's not me, you know. I'm very much a granola, you know. And I didn't understand what it was, but when it was explained to me, it's essentially public service. You offer the skills and the capabilities that you believe you have, and you find a way to make it spread throughout the community. It's that simple. Leadership, interfaith work, relationships, it's that simple. You offer what you can. You don't need to be a PhD. You don't need to have an MD. You don't need to be a lawyer or have some professional certification. I'll tell you, if you're even a good cook, I could use your services. I know about 20 families that could use your services because their children, they could use that education. That's a life skill, knowing how to cook and provide for yourself. If you know how to do resumes, we need you. You don't need to run your own American Job Center. We have other programs for that. But if you can help people even write their resume to get better employment, do you know what that economic benefit can do for our community? Because now someone who didn't have a job now has income. And they're able to purchase from your stores, from your restaurants, buy your clothing, pay for your tutoring course, come to the masjid and give some donation for the programs that we try to run. It's a ripple effect. And if those bridge people are not there, then what happens? Well, what happens when you don't have supports? things start to crumble. What I've learned through public service, working in communities that don't have enough money to buy bread and cheese, working in communities where they were thrown in jail from the time that they were children, 13 years old, and they're not getting out until they're 30. Can you really expect someone who went into a system at 13 to have emotional regulation or communication skills? Sometimes the problem is the rest of us, because sometimes our expectations are way above the level of humanity that we need to bring to the table. So why am I talking about this? Why this is relevant to the NAACP and the work that I've been doing in Montgomery County for the last, I'm not going to tell my age, but a long time, right? Both my children have been in or are in Montgomery County Public Schools. And that is what drove me to get involved in the tutoring services for all the Montgomery County children that have below average literacy levels, reading levels, writing levels. We did a tutoring survey through all of the schools in Montgomery County, and the result was that children were desperately needing these services. And what happened for that year, every child in Montgomery County that sought tutoring services was able to get those tutoring services. What would have happened if we never asked the question? What would have happened if we just kept assuming somebody else is going to do it? Nothing would have happened. Maybe majority of the children that graduated last year wouldn't have graduated because they wouldn't have had the grades. So I'd like to ask everyone, when we think about things like community, segments, madhabs, religious groups, ask yourself, what is so important about that? My grandmother, who was a Christian, I loved her dearly. Christmas time used to come around, I'd be excited to go to her house. I thought the lights were pretty. That's the mindset of a child. I was excited to be in the loving arms of my grandmother and my aunts and my uncles and my mother and my siblings. It's that simple. It's not as complicated as we make it. So if you're thinking there's something you want to do for community, if you're someone who's between the ages of 18 and 45, the NAACP, I represent the Young Adults Committee now. I'm still working with the Education Committee because it's important, it's vital. But I'm with the Young Adults Committee now, and I'm with that committee because this is the bridge generation. I will say I believe in giving people their flowers while they're still alive, so I want to acknowledge all of the people that came before me from my mother's generation. Maulana Naqvi is one of them. I went to school with his daughter and his son. And had they not done the work they did, none of us would be sitting here today. None of the children in Montgomery County would have gotten the assistance they got from the programs I was a part of. None of the children in the Child and Family Services Agency in DC would have gotten help with economic development or asset building. There's a ripple effect. And what I would like you to take away from this is, if there's anything you want to contribute to our community, if you like to take pictures, if you have media skills, if you have great MC skills, if you're great at program development, if you're interested in community development, I have a place for you. Come talk to me. I'm not hard to find. You won't find me a lot on social media. Like I said, I do a lot behind the scenes because that's where I can work most effectively. And that's for each of you to figure out. What is your vein of specialty? Where can you contribute? This is not a one-man show. You see the same people up on the podium sometimes because honestly, they're the only people that volunteer. That's really it. Just speak up. And if you don't know how, you can contact me. I'll help you. Inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Sati. Our next speaker is Faqir Muhammad Zahid Iqbal Sarwari Qadri. Faqir Muhammad Zahid Iqbal Sarwari Qadri belongs to the Sarwari Qadri Sufi order and delivers Friday sermons at Al-Munir Masjid, which is approximately 15 years old. Imam Zahid launched a Sufi non-profit entity from home named Noor, the Light, which has been hosting monthly congregations of Zakir for the last 7 years. Imam Zahid has published his Sheikh's book called Irfan, and it is available on Amazon, Balboa Press, and Kindle. He is currently working to establish an international Sufi center in Maryland. Imam Zahid holds a master's degree in chemistry and was a chemistry teacher when he lived in Pakistan. Please join me in welcoming Imam Zahid to the podium with a loud salawat.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wal aqibatu lil muttaqeen was salatu was salamu ala Sayyid al Anbiya wal Mursaleen. Please be to Allah, the Lord of the universe, and salvation is for those who have His consciousness. Peace and benediction on the chief of the prophets, leader of the messengers, Sayyidina Muhammad, the chosen one. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I seek refuge with Allah from the Satan, the outcasted one. In the name of Allah, the infinitely compassionate and boundlessly merciful. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyamu kama kutiba alal ladzina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. O you who believe, fasting is prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those before you, that you may become righteous. Respected Sheikh Abdul Jaleel Navvi Sahib, honorable guests, elders, brothers and sisters, Shalom, good evening, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I have recited and translated verse 183 of chapter 2 of the Holy Quran in front of you. Fasting has been prescribed not only to Muslims but to the people of many faiths as well as spiritual practices. For example, Islam. Fasting is obligatory for every Muslim 1 month in a year during Ramadan. There are also special occasions during the year when Muslims fast, like fasting on the 10th day of Ashura in another Islamic month called Muharram. Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he migrated to Medina, he observed the Jews fasting on this day to commemorate their deliverance and recommended the Muslims to fast as well. The same day also marks the martyrdom of Sayyidina Hussain ibn Ali alayhi salam and his family, the grandson of the Prophet, for the sake of haqq, for the sake of truth. Salawat. Christianity, fasting is a practice of several Christian denominations and is done both collectively during a certain years of the liturgical calendar or individually as a believer feels. In the traditional black fast, the observant abstains from food and liquids for the whole day until the evening, and at sunset traditionally breaks the fast with a vegetarian meal. This is just a little detail how the Christian brothers and sisters fast. However, there are many other ways they fast as well. Judaism, fasting for Jews means completely abstaining from food and drinks, including water. Traditionally, observant Jews fast 6 days of a year. Yom Kippur is the most important day of the Jewish year cycle, and his fasting is a means of repentance, is expected of every Jewish man or woman. Taoism in China, fasting originated as a Taoist technique for becoming transcendent or immortal. Hindus or Sikh community have their own ways and days of fasting for spiritual gains and goals. Fasting is included in practices such as yoga. In a yoga, it is recommended that one maintains a spiritual fast on a particular day of each week. It is essential on the spiritual fasting day not only to abstain from meals, but also to spend the whole day with positive and spiritual attitude. The common takeaway from starting from the most recent to the ancient history of human beings, the common takeaway of all fasting men and women in the world, past or present, is to make their spiritual self striking and superior. So the human body is a cage to the spirit, and it has its own requirements for its nourishment. Our physical body needs food for its survival. Similarly, the spirit, which is actual reason we are alive, needs a spiritual food. And that food lies in the remembrance of the Creator. Now you may be wondering how our body has been provided with an inner fresh pool of water oozing out from the within and is self-sustaining, and it has a link to its Creator. This pool is also linked with the channels from outside, and these are our desires and wants. The 5 human senses play the role of our outer channels, which continuously feed this fresh pool of water from the tangible physical world. One should keep this inner pool of water fresh and sparkling by not just feeding it with the physical supplies through these channels of desires. Fasting in general, and fasting in the month of Ramadan in particular, is a refresher course to clean this inner pool of water by cutting all the supplies from outside. So the actual philosophy of fasting in almost every faith, nation or culture, regardless of time, was and is to disconnect yourself from the material world and to connect to the spiritual self, which I portray here, the fresh pool of inner water. So this refresher course culminates in Muslim faith with the commencement of compulsory fasting during the month of Ramadan. Because the Creator, Allah the Exalted, the God, orders to cut all kinds of material supplies in the form of food, smell, see, hear or touch, especially when a person is hungry and thirsty. His thought asks him why I am in this state. And he has the answer. And that is because his Creator wants him to connect to him completely. And if you have a pure intention to connect him, and it would work, the fasting would work. As we reflect on this, we remember the verse of the Quran, Ya ayyuhan nasu inna khalaqnakum min zakara wal unsa wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qabaila lita'arifu inna akramakum indallahi atqakum innallaha alimun khabir. O people, here the Quran is addressing people, it's not addressing Muslims. O people, we created you from a male and a female and made you races and tribes, that you may know each other, that you may know one another. The best among you in the sight of the God is the most righteous, and God knows all, and God is well experienced. This verse emphasized that despite our different paths and traditions, we are all united by our shared humanity and our quest for righteousness. The true measure of our worth in the eyes of the Creator is not determined by our race, culture, or external identity, but by our sincerity, our consciousness of God, taqwa, and the kindness we show one another. Fasting in all its forms, across different faiths, serves as a reminder of our spiritual journey, helping us to purify our hearts, the sparkling pool, and strengthen our bond with the divine. It teaches us self-restraint, compassion, and importance of humility, and it calls us to reflect on how we can become better people, not just individually but collectively. As we engage in the practice of fasting, let us honor the diversity of faiths while embracing the common values that unite us. May we all strive for greater righteousness, peace, and understanding, recognizing that the best among us are those who are the most conscious of our Creator, regardless of our faith. May God bless our efforts, accept our prayers, and guide us on the path of mercy, compassion, and unity. Ameen. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much, Imam Zahid. I'd like to now introduce our next speaker, Pastor Denise Diab. Pastor Denise Diab attended San Francisco Theological Seminary, where she received a Master of Divinity in 2019 and was ordained by Los Ranchos Presbytery in June 2021. Denise has served as a part-time transitional associate pastor at Grace First Presbyterian Church in Long Beach and as a part-time pastoral staff at Westminster Presbyterian Church in Washington, D.C. Denise loves spending quality time with her 4 children and 6 grandchildren. Her greatest adventure was completing El Camino de Santiago in 2016. Denise also enjoys writing, reading, hiking, traveling, and gardening. Please join me in welcoming Pastor Denise to the podium with a round of applause.
Thank you for that kind introduction. Assalamu alaikum. Peace and grace to you. I bring you greetings from Bradley Hills Presbyterian Church, and thank you for inviting me to your Iftar Interfaith Dinner. I've been at Bradley Hills for just over 3 years, and I remember that one of the things that most excited me about coming to Bradley Hills was the strong, intentional interfaith connections between the 3 Abrahamic faiths. When I tell people about our relationship, sharing a building for worship, our annual interfaith service, and the increase in other shared occasions over the years, they are amazed at that sense of community that we have built up over the last over 60 years. Now, Ramadan, Passover, and the Christian observance of Lent sometimes occur in close proximity on the calendar. One thing that Ramadan, Passover, and Lent have in common is the special time set aside to recognize and to give thanks for the boundless love and provision of the Creator and all of creation. During these times of drawing closer to the divine through prayer, through stillness and silence, through service to others, we feel the love of the divine in ways that we don't normally feel them, and we are able to share that love with our neighbors more consciously and more freely. In recent weeks, we have seen our country in a state of chaos, disruption, confusion, with growing numbers experiencing worry and anxiety and overwhelm. There is fear about the future and what lies ahead. Many are traumatized and paralyzed, not knowing which way to turn and how to respond. As we turn to our faith to help us navigate these challenging times, we trust that we will eventually get through. We're not naive. We know there is action that we have to do. But Jesus says that it is easy to love those who love you, but we are called to share the indwelling of the love of the divine with all that we encounter, those who love us and those who don't. In closing, I would just like to share with you a psalm from Nan Merrill's book, Psalms for Praying, an invitation to wholeness that speaks of the love of the divine, whom in this poem she refers to or calls the beloved, and who is known by all the holy names of God. Psalm 9. Give thanks to the beloved with your whole heart. Tell the story of love's way. Be glad and dance with joy. Sing praises to the name above all names, as illusions are dispelled and as they fade away before love's face. For you, O beloved, are ever present, ready to be known in open hearts. You know each nation and see how they destroy one another. Chaos and darkness rise up, blind to love's way. Forgotten is creation's glory. False power seeks to destroy the divine plan. Yet, love will abide forever. For you have established yourself in secret places, seeking out receptive hearts, ready to enter and make your dwelling place within. Love is a stronghold for the oppressed, a foundation in difficult times, and those who know love's name therein place their trust. For you, O beloved, are ever present to those who know you. Sing praises to the one who is love, who dwells in your heart. Tell everyone of love's wonder-filled deeds. For those who know compassion will remember those in need. Be gracious to me, O beloved. Behold what I suffer out of fear. O you who have awakened me from a living death, I sing your glory from the depths of my being. I rejoice and give thanks for your faithful love. The nations are sinking into a pit of their own making, into the web which they are weaving, they will be caught. Love will make itself known with a strength stronger than 10,000 armies. The unloving will have to face themselves, all nations that are unjust. For the oppressed will be released, and the hope of the poor will be realized. Arise, O love, have your way with us. Let the nations bow before you and ask forgiveness. Let your healing light stream forth, O love. Let the nations commit themselves to your plan, to your divine plan, to your loving plan. And our Bible says that there is faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of these is love. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for those beautiful words, Pastor Denise. I'd now like to introduce our next speaker, Rabbi Dr. Paul Zietz. In 2023, Dr. Paul Zietz was ordained as a Shir Hashirim rabbi, blending spirituality with his commitment to justice and healing. This spiritual foundation informs his work, providing a holistic perspective on the interconnectedness of personal, societal, and global well-being. Dr. Zietz is a preventative medicine physician, epidemiologist, author, and award-winning advocate for global justice and human rights. With over 35 years of experience in advocacy, campaigning, and political movement leadership, Dr. Zietz has consistently demonstrated an unwavering commitment to creating a more equitable and compassionate world. His innovative approach to addressing systemic challenges has cemented his reputation as a visionary leader. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Zietz to the podium with a round of applause.
Salam Aleichem, Shalom, peace, Namaste. My beloved sisters and brothers, with deep humility and gratitude, I am honored to be here today, and I welcome all of us in this sacred moment, a moment of awakening, this moment of unifying. I thank each of us, each of you, for being here today in body and soul as we gather as one human family. We are standing at a great crossroads. We are in a time of crisis, political crisis, ecological crisis, a crisis of meaning, of violence, of fear, of polarization. And at the very same time, I believe with all my heart that we are experiencing a profound spiritual awakening, a remembering of who we are, why we are here, and how we are meant to live together on this earth. Across all spiritual traditions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, indigenous religions, and others, there is one truth that rises again and again. Love is the greatest power that we know. I felt all of us have been echoing that sentiment. Not sentimental love, though, not romantic love, but a love force, a revolutionary love that can turn despair into hope, war into peace, division into unity. This force is not passive. It is bold, it is courageous, and it is active. That is the love that births justice. That is the love that heals trauma. This is the love that unifies our human family. In my Jewish mystical tradition, Shir HaShirim, or the Song of Songs, is not just a poem of passion. It is a holy cry from the soul, a dance of yearning between humanity and the divine. It teaches, for love is as strong as death. Ki azah kamevet ahava. Ki azah kamevet ahava. Let that ring in your heart. Love is as strong as death. This verse is a spiritual dare. It asks, what are you willing to sacrifice in the name of love? What comfort, what silence, what privilege are we ready to release so that justice and healing can flow like a mighty river? Because love, true love, is not just an emotion, it is the very essence of God. It is the source of all life. It is the reason we are all here. And so in this moment of global suffering in Palestine, in Ukraine, in Sudan, in the streets of America, with the climate crisis affecting our earth, we must rise with fierce compassion. Out of the darkness, a new consciousness is being born. In my religion, in my faith, a new liberatory Judaism is rising, a Judaism that aligns itself not with power, but with the powerless, a Judaism that refuses to remain silent in the face of injustice, a Judaism of fierce love, a Judaism that is not about overcoming oppression of ourselves, but the oppression of all people, including our Palestinian brothers and sisters. We do not seek a false peace, a peace based on silence and submission. We seek a real peace, a peace rooted in truth, in healing, and in repair. In Judaism, we often speak of tikkun olam, healing of the world. But today, we must speak of tikkun haaretz, healing of the land. The land we speak of is Israel-Palestine. It is sacred not because of who claims it, but because of how we care for one another within it. Let me say this clearly. True peace will not come from domination. It will not come through bombs, checkpoints, or walls. It will not come through genocide. It will come through justice, through love, through the recognition that we all belong to each other. And the real truth is that we are all interdependent. Our sacred duty is peace building, not taking sides, but building bridges, so that two peoples can live in dignity and peace on one beloved land. And I know you may ask, how can I speak of love when the world is burning? But remember, many of our ancestors across our faith traditions also faced exile, genocide, slavery, and destruction. And still, they chose to dream They chose to rise. They chose to love. Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl taught us everything can be taken from a person but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given circumstance. To choose love and optimism, especially in crisis, is not naive. It is revolutionary. So I ask you, what does it mean to become love? To become love, to be love, to have love be your every step, your every breath. What does it mean to put love at the center of everything we do? That's an ongoing question I always ask myself. I try to listen deeply even when I disagree with someone. I try to stand with the oppressed even when it's uncomfortable. To build bridges when the world demands we build walls. To keep hoping when despair whispers in our ears. Love demands courage. Love demands action. Love demands that we speak, that we march, that we heal, and that we imagine a better world together, and we build it together. And as we break fast later tonight, I ask you, let us commit to becoming love. Let us refuse the seduction of fear. Let us reject the paralysis of cynicism. Let us walk together, hand in hand, heart to heart. Let us remember we are not alone. We are all vessels of a greater love. We are here for a sacred purpose. As Rabbi Nachman of Breslov taught, the world is a very narrow bridge, and the essential thing is not to be afraid. So let us walk that bridge together, with courage, with compassion, with fierce, joyful, unstoppable love. Amen. Salam, shalom, namaste.
Thank you so much for those powerful words, Dr. Zaitz. We will now hear from more of our distinguished government officials in the audience. Before I do that, I would like to acknowledge the attendance of a few people. First, Shahan Rizvi, former chair of the Howard County Democratic Central Committee and a member of Idara Jafriya since his childhood. A special shout out to our own Shahan Rizvi. Second, there are some guests of our speaker, Sister Asati Ahmad here, and there are guests from the Bradley Hills Presbyterian Church. There's Chris Wilhelm, Chief of Staff for Montgomery County Council Member Kristen Mink, and Joanna Bernhardt from Council Member Sales' office. There's Kate Chance, Faith Community Liaison from the Montgomery County Government's Office of Community Partnerships. Kate has been a long-term supporter and advocate for the Idara Jafriya community alongside County Executive Mark Elrich, who couldn't be here today due to travels. Thank you all for joining us. I'd now like to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Jiru Bande. Mr. Jiru Bande was appointed in 2013 as the Regional Director of the Montgomery County Eastern Regional Office, serving as the county's representative and liaison between residents, businesses, and county government in the region. He manages the affairs of the East County Citizens Advisory Board, appointed by the county executive and confirmed by the council, serves as the senior advisor to the county executive on workforce development matters, and oversees the WorkSource Montgomery's employment education and training programs portfolio. Please welcome Mr. Jiru Bande to the podium with an applause. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Eid Mubarak, and I'm going to make this very short because 30 days of fasting, as I reflect, it's good for my body, it's good for my mind, it's also good for me in my job. I'm Jiru Bande. I represent Montgomery County government in the Eastern region, where I advocate for our residents in county programs and policies as well as representing Montgomery County in the Eastern region, and we happen to be in that region. For me, Montgomery County, being an immigrant coming to America in 1975 and a Muslim, this is the best place to be in America. It is a county that values diversity, that values inclusion. It's a county, in all practical purposes, sees diversity as an asset, a diversity where everyone brings in, diversity where we live as human beings. And for me, our government policies reflects the principles of Islam, a religion that I was born in, I accept, and I practice. On behalf of the county government, the county executive, who cannot unfortunately be here with us today, we would like to thank this community, thank the residents for making Montgomery County one of the best places to live, and making sure that what we also do reflects the needs, the wishes, the aspirations of everyone who lives in this county. I hope we as Muslims, we practice and live by the principles of Ramadan on a daily basis. I do. And I hope we all do, particularly in these challenging times. It's going to be challenging, but the more we reflect on the principles of Ramadan, which also includes empathy, which also reflects other values that are so entrenched in the Islamic religion. I just hope the community in Montgomery County can work together, stay strong, and always believe in Allah that good days will finally come. We have to reflect that in everything that we do. On behalf of Montgomery County government, we also want to say thank you to this community, for your presence makes us better. Your presence makes us really believe that together we can do great things in the name of Allah. Thank you very much. Eid Mubarak in advance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bundin. Now I'd like to welcome Montgomery County Council Member Kristen Mink. Since December 2022, Council Member Kristen Mink has proudly represented District 5 on the Montgomery County Council. A first-generation Chinese American born and raised in Montgomery County, Kristen attended Montgomery Blair High School and now is a proud MCPS parent. Prior to serving on the Montgomery County Council, Kristen worked as a teacher in Montgomery County Public Schools and most recently as the senior legislative organizer at the Center for Popular Democracy, a nationwide nonprofit fighting for justice at the local, state, and federal levels. Please welcome to the podium.
Thank you. What an honor to be with you all here tonight. This has been so moving, having the opportunity to listen to all of the speakers who have come before me, and this, I must say, is really the antidote that we need to so much of what has been going on in this country and internationally. And I do also want to take a moment to harken back to the beginning of our evening here and thank the young brother who did the recitation. It was really beautiful, so thank you so much. And thank you to Narelle who did the translation. It really is meaningful and really very much appreciated to have the opportunity to hear and to see the translation in English so that we can all have the opportunity to understand. So thank you very much for that as well. And I also want to thank Sister Asante, who I know had to head off, but for starting us off, reminding us of some of the things that we all have in common, some of the things that every single person needs: food and shelter and a purpose. And I would add to that, home. Home is something that every single person needs and deserves. And of course, home has a lot of meanings. I'm the daughter of an immigrant. My mom moved to this country from Malaysia as a young adult. And Malaysia will always be home to her. And to me too. I didn't grow up there, but Malaysia is home to me too because of her. And I'm sure many of you here understand that sentiment as well. But when she moved here, she started off in California at a community college by herself. And her roommate took her home to her Italian family for Thanksgiving. And now I call them Grandma and Grandpa, may they rest in peace. And so that became home. And then when she met my father, and they moved and they settled here in Montgomery County, and they were embraced by community, and they worked to build community here in Montgomery County, including at the church that they joined, Silver Spring Presbyterian, the church that I grew up in. And Montgomery County became home. And at that church, actually, I remember watching it. It went through a period of transition very quickly when I was a child because there was an influx of Cameroonians who immigrated to the area, and many of them joined that same church, and suddenly the population exploded with Cameroonians, and the music got really fun. Actually, they started another singing group. It was called the Circle of God. Which I joined, very fun, and the church choir that pre-existed there still continued to exist, but they renamed themselves the Squares of God. But that's home, and that's what Montgomery County has been to me. And now, as a county council member, I represent this district where we are now, the east side of the county. That is what is in my heart. Everyone here needs and deserves to know and to feel that the place that they have chosen to build their home is their home, where they are safe and loved, where they have ownership, where they feel comfortable, where they can share of themselves and be shared with. And so I thank you for this event, because that is exactly what this is all about. And at a time where there are homes overseas that are being turned to rubble, where we have hundreds of thousands of lives that are being lost, it's more important than ever that we ensure that home here is going to be home for everyone who has chosen to make their home here. And I think that the theme of love that has been touched on by so many is absolutely at the heart of that. And I have a 6-year-old, almost 6 in a couple weeks, 5. But she's claiming 6 already. But she draws a lot of love pictures, and so for her, love is, the drawing was full of hearts and rainbows, and I love that for her. But I know, and I know as many of us in this room know, that sometimes, and we're in some of those times right now, love is not all hearts and rainbows. Sometimes love is about rising up to our feet, dusting ourselves off, dusting off our neighbors, straightening our shoulders, and saying, we will embrace our community. And others may want to tell some folks that this is not their home, but that is not what love is to us. We will love in defiance of that. So thank you all very much. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you very much for those beautiful words. We're just going to have a quick change in the program. I'd now like to welcome Montgomery County Council Member at Large Lori Ann Sales. Lori Ann Sales is a community activist, public health specialist, and public servant from Montgomery County, Maryland. On December 5th, 2022, she was inaugurated into a 4-year term as an at-large member of the Montgomery County Council, representing the first Black woman and Jamaican American elected to office. She previously served as a member of the Gaithersburg City Council, making history as the first Black person elected to the office. Please welcome her to the podium with a round of applause.
Good evening, dear friends. Ramadan Mubarak. I sincerely hope this sacred month brings you joy, peace, and a time of reflection. Your presence here tonight at the annual Interfaith Iftar hosted by the Idara Jafira community truly warms my heart. A heartfelt thank you to Sheikh Abdul Jalil for graciously inviting me to share in this special occasion. My name is Lorianne Sales, and I am one of your 4 at-large council members. And as we approach the conclusion of Women's History Month, I feel a deep sense of gratitude for the honor of being the only Montgomery County Councilwoman representing over 1 million residents. Interfaith gatherings hold a special place in my heart. They are vital reminders of the connections that bind our beautiful and diverse community together. As we witness increasing divisiveness and harmful rhetoric at the federal level, it becomes even more essential for us to nurture and strengthen our commitment to a safe and inclusive community that embodies the values of unity, understanding, equity, and compassion. This isn't merely a noble rhetoric or endeavor. It is our unique strength that distinguishes us from other areas, both locally and globally. Our dedication to fostering unity and understanding shines as a beacon of hope and inspiration for us all. Your presence here tonight speaks volumes about the vital role you play in promoting peace and building a sense of community. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for inviting me to be a part of this beautiful and special iftar. Your kindness and contributions have made this evening and this month celebrating Ramadan truly special. I wish you all a wonderful Eid filled with love, peace, and community. Thank you.
Thank you for those beautiful words. Now I would like to welcome to the podium next Delegate Terry Lynn Hill. Delegate Terry Hill is a physician, small business owner, and lifelong advocate for equity who has served Maryland's District 12 in the House of Delegates since 2014. A proud product of Howard County Public Schools, she went on to earn degrees from Harvard University in bioelectrical engineering and from Columbia University's College of Physicians of Medical Practice in College of Physicians and Surgeons, Drawing on more than 30 years of medical practice in her community, Delegate Hill brings firsthand insight to her legislative work, crafting laws that expand healthcare access, support mental health, protect the environment, and uplift undeserved communities. She is known for removing barriers and building systems that work for everyone, especially during times of crisis like the COVID-19 pandemic. Please welcome to the podium, Delegate Hill.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for that very generous introduction. Now I know that I have something to live up to. I've been told to have 2 minutes. I know that prayer is coming, and we have other speakers to come. I'd like to first thank my good friend, Shahan Rizvi, for facilitating the invitation. And I would like to thank all of you who have invited and all of you who gathered for this Interfaith Iftar. The themes of tonight, bridge building, love, the universality of fasting, justice, courage, home. These are so critical, particularly at this time. And the fact that we're having this interfaith celebration tonight speaks to the fact that everyone here recognizes that when things become very difficult, we are called on to do difficult things. And sometimes the most challenging thing is indeed to continue to believe that conversation can move us forward and that love will save us. As a Catholic, we're in the middle of our Lenten season. And just as was mentioned earlier, our 3 pillars are fasting, alms or sacrifice, and prayer, not so different than the other Abrahamic religions. But I want to just encourage one thing. I was told 2 minutes, so I'm done. and that is that we don't simply focus on the fasting, which reminds us of our humanity and the weakness of ourselves, and directs us to lean more on the spiritual, more on the Father, but that we actually become deeper in our prayer life. We come deeper in our faith. Because at these times we're throughout the world, but even just a few miles down the road, our world is being shaken and shattered. We will not be able to resist and push back and survive if we are not grounded in our faith. I believe this is a spiritual war we are in. It is not unique to us. It has played out historically time and time again. And just as the Almighty has proven victorious in the past, he will prove victorious again. But it is incumbent upon us to remember who we are and whose we are. And so I'm particularly glad to be here tonight, to break fast with all of you, and to share in that commitment. Because we all know that faith without works, as is quoted by James in the epistle, is dead. So thank you so very much. Assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam, and bye.
Thank you, Delegate Hill. Next, we will welcome Delegate Chow Wu. Delegate Chow Wu is an engineer, educator, and public servant representing Maryland's District 9A in the House of Delegates. With a PhD in electrical and computer engineering from the University of Maryland, and earlier degrees from the National University of Singapore and the University of Science and Technology of China, he brings a deep technical background to his public service. Delegate Wu has worked across the private and public sectors in data science, cybersecurity, and AI, and served his local community as a member of the Columbia Association and River Hill Vintage Boards. He was elected to the Howard County Board of Education in 2018 and became its first Asian American chair in 2020. He continues to advocate for strong public education, innovation, and inclusive community engagement. Please welcome to the podium with a round of applause.
Good evening. So I'm a state delegate Chow Wu from Howard County. I'm representing both Howard County and Montgomery County. I just, during the speech, I think about my lifetime. I grew up in China from a Buddhist family, and then I learned a lot about Muslim and Arabic stories, and then I went to Singapore. There, in one building, we have a multi-faith family living together. I learned so much about different religion, different culture. Then I come here. Gradually, I got a much bigger Muslim family in Howard County. I think I learned so much every time I join events. I know people. I go to people's family. I think it is an opportunity as a human we come together, try to build that mutual understanding. I really appreciate tonight's invitation, especially from Shahan Rizvi and our strong leader from Howard County. Thank you very much to give me this opportunity to know you and making you know me as well. We are still in a legislative session. At the same time, actually, we come back to the community. We hear from our community members. This year, I sponsored a bill which try to ask Howard County and Montgomery County public school system to close the school for our students during very important holidays like Lunar New Year, Diwali, Eid, and Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah. I think the reason for that is really want to make the public realize the diversity for the community, and then we can publicly talk about it and celebrate the diversity lives in us, and we should be able to honor that. And eventually, I just want to say, brothers and sisters, let's find peace and prosperity among ourselves, among each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to point out that we are approaching the end of the program soon with just a few more speakers. But if folks would like to break their fast, there are accommodations in the back of the hall for that. Next, I'd like to welcome our speaker, Senator Clarence Lam. Senator Clarence Lam is a physician, public health expert, and state legislator representing Maryland's 12th District in the State Senate. A second-generation Asian American, he holds degrees from Case Western Reserve University, the University of Maryland School of Medicine, and Johns Hopkins University, where he also serves as a preventative medicine physician. Since entering the legislature in 2015, first as a delegate and then as senator, Dr. Lam has been a leading voice on healthcare, environmental policy, and government accountability. He currently serves as vice chair of the Senate Executive Nominations Committee, the first Asian American to hold a Senate leadership post, and is the only physician serving in the Maryland Senate. Please welcome him to the podium with a round of applause.
Assalamu alaikum. It's an honor to be here during this holy time. On behalf of the Maryland General Assembly, we've had a few colleagues here as well, to be able to bring greetings and to share this iftar with all of you this evening. I want to thank Shahan Rizvi for the wonderful invitation, and also for Idara Al-Jafari for bringing us all together and to host this wonderful event, and to have the opportunity for us to all reflect on what Ramadan means. And it's opportunities like this where we come together and bring different faiths together to be able to discuss and talk and share in our beliefs, our aspirations, our hopes that make us a better and stronger community. And so while we're gathered here this evening to be able to celebrate this together, I encourage all of us to be able to carry forward these values and continue this dialogue, continue this discussion, continue that interfaith weaving together of our cultures, our heritage, what makes our community so special. Because while we've seen a lot of challenges over the last few months, and it's been particularly hard for many of us in this community, we know that it's really love that brings us all together, as was mentioned by so many of the other prior speakers. And while we see those challenges nationally, and we continue to see challenges here in the state of Maryland, whether it's with our budget or other things that we're experiencing here as a state, know that we in the General Assembly stand with all of you, and we stand with a belief that we can bring our community together, that our diversity is our strength, that we want to be an inclusive community. And that's why even just last month, we were able to celebrate our second Muslim delegate to be sworn in into the Maryland General Assembly, so that there are now 2 Muslims serving in the General Assembly, with Delegate Sarah Wallach from Montgomery County, and now Delegate Sean Stinnett from Baltimore City. And it's a reflection of the importance of your community, of your strength, and a community that we will continue to upload and uplift. That just know that we see you, we hear you, we feel what you feel. We feel your pain, your anguish, your fear, but know that we also will help restore that hope, that inspiration, that faith, love, and peace here in the state of Maryland, in the US, and across the world. So thank you so much for this opportunity to be here this evening, and to all of the organizers who helped bring us together. We look forward to be able to break fast with all of you this evening. Ramadan Mubarak.
Thank you, Senator Lam, and thank you for all the support you provide to Muslim communities in Maryland. I would now like to introduce Idara Jafriya's respected resident scholar, Sheikh Abdul Jalil Nawi. Sheikh Abdul Jalil was born and raised in Accra, Ghana. He began his Islamic studies at Al-Hidayah Islamic School. After graduating, he taught at the school for many years, and he started his studies at the Ahlul Bayt Institute in Accra, and upon graduation, he became a teacher there. While teaching, he also served as one of the imams and speakers at the Shia Central Mosque in Accra. And after years of service in Ghana, he moved to Iran to further his Islamic studies. Upon completion, he moved to Washington, D.C., and he served at different centers and mosques and taught at the Muslim Community School in Maryland. Currently, Idara Jafriya is honored to have him as its resident scholar. Please respectfully rise and welcome Sheikh Abdul Jalil Nawi with a loud salawat.
Please. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ثم الصلاة والسلام على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. On behalf of our dear leader Samahat Hujjat al-Islam Maulana Rafiq Naqawi, on behalf of our dear trustees and board of directors and our dear community members, I would like to extend my sincere welcome to all our guests who are here this evening. And really, it is an honor to have all of you here. I come here every day, but looking at the environment of today, I can see it's different than every day. And I see a light that I normally doesn't see when I walk into this building. And I kind of wonder where this light is coming from. But when I look at right and left, I know these are the light of our dear guests. And we really appreciate that light that you brought with you tonight. And we hope and pray that this light is not the end of today. Rather, you can bless us with coming more often in this center, in this community, to bless us with your attendance and your participation. I was really given 5 minutes to speak, but I decided not to speak. And I decided to use my minute rather to say welcome and thank you all for coming. And I want to say one thing also, dear brothers and sisters, that I believe in our dear community, especially our youth. I really believe in them. And I believe in them not because they are from this community. I believe in them because they are a very good customer service. And I'm sure that they will serve you dearly. And the way they're going to serve you, you will really love to come back again and again and again. And we hope that you do that, inshallah. Thank you very much. But the last thing I want to say tonight, my dear brothers and sisters, we spoke about love. We spoke about caring. But the question that I want to leave in your mind and heart as we leave here tonight, where do we start to instigate that love in the heart of others? Love is important. We want to do it. But where do we start? Where do we initiate that love in the heart of others? I believe Ramadan is one of the ways to start it. How do we do that? Actually, the concept of Ramadan was prescribed for one wisdom. And the wisdom is so that the rich and poor taste the hunger and the thirst. So that after Ramadan, when a poor person approaches and says, I'm hungry, you don't have to think, what does it mean to be hungry? You can relate because you've been there and done it. And it's easier to help and support because you have felt it. You've been there. And I'm sure we all know in our surroundings people who need something like that. Let's all start by instigating that love by looking around ourselves, our surroundings, in our neighborhood, people who need something and we know we can make a difference in their life. Let's start making that differences in the life of others so that we can instigate that love that we're all talking about. And I hope we can do that from tonight. God bless all of you and thank you for coming. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Thank you, Sheikh, for your inspiring and wise words. We've now approached the end of the program and to the moment that many of us have been waiting for, the iftar dinner. Before that, we'll have the call to prayer. So there are some important announcements before we commence the adhan. During the call for prayer, I kindly request you to rise and for all the women to move to the women's hall adjacent to this hall behind us. Volunteers will fold most chairs in preparation for the prayers, and there will be chairs for guests to observe prayers if they want to. You can find translations in the handouts. On behalf of Idara Jafriya, I would like to extend a special thank you to each of our speakers and all of our guests for joining us tonight. And I'd now like to welcome Brother Nihal Naqvi to call out the Adhan. Salawat.